50 black adult men and women meet the book libraries and bookmobile service is greater than ever before. In the beginning was the Word, the written Word. Everyone has a right to read. First Conference on Libraries and Information Service, January the 8th, 1979.
Lister Hill. Had that much sense, just enough to do what Senator Hill told me. And I'll tell you another thing. Since I fell under his leadership, I haven't been doing as well either.
Because I then lived in Chicago. As I arrived at the little subway car to go over to the Senate office, a very distinguished-looking gentleman stepped in. A native Alabamian, I wanted to introduce myself. A bill to provide demonstrations of library services. Although the bill was not successful, Senator Hill persevered, and he and Congressman Elliott finally had passed in the House and in the Senate the National Library Services Act of 1956. The National Library Services Act is a landmark of federal legislation for libraries. This act was only the beginning for these two. Having gained a victory, Senator Hill pressed on to broaden and enlarge federal assistance to education and libraries. He helped formulate and guide what has been in the past and what is today. Only through such awareness can we train the Senator Hill for his lifelong concern for education and for his contributions to federal legislation assisting libraries of all types to promote and to aid education. Senator Hill, on behalf of the Governor's Conference on Libraries and Information Services, I am pleased and honored to present this plaque to you as a token of our deep appreciation to you and for you, and as an acknowledgement of your lasting contributions to libraries.
Appreciate it deeply. Certainly expressing my heartfelt thanks and appreciation. And I want to say just one word. I won't detain you. If I told you all I'd like to say tonight, you wouldn't get to your breakfast in time in the morning. But I want to say to you, my friends, any honor that comes to me, you have a right to share in that honor. Because with your knowledge that you gave me, your information that you gave me, your inspiration that you gave me, your dedication that you gave me, that inspired me to go forward in an effort to help our great Alabama library. And I want to say too, sir, that my friend, colleague of Walker County, Alabama, he was on the committee that handled those bills in the House, and after I got them passed in the Senate, I had to get them passed in the House. And Carl was the man who got them passed in the House. He did a mighty fine job. And he said he deserved our great appreciation and our chance. And we need all to enlighten our people, give them all the knowledge and information we can. We're going to do that. Best way to do it, the way to do it, is through our library. Sure, the library will be a great savior of all the United States of America. Let us here tonight resolve that we should go forward, doing everything we can to sustain, to support, and do everything possible for our great library. From the depths of my heart, I thank you.
Also, the Legislative Development Committee, who will make another presentation. David?
Allow us to deliver library services to the people of Alabama by their generous support and legislation. Said about him, he's a man we're all very familiar with. He's a man.
A circuit judge has ruled that 3 law enforcement agencies that participated in a drug raid last September can divide the $15,000 that was seized during the raid. Judge Perry Hooper said yesterday the money will be used for law enforcement purposes. Assistant District Attorney Jimmy Poole said the state contends that in a drug operation, money is part of the paraphernalia that can be confiscated. But the attorney for the man whose money was confiscated said he'll appeal the ruling because it would open the door for authorities to seize money anytime an arrest is made for any purpose. A federal court suit has been filed in Birmingham accusing the United Mine Workers of America of violence at a non-union mine at Oakman in Walker County last February. It was filed by the Center on National Labor Policy in Arlington, Virginia, on behalf of employees of Oakman Mining Company. The suit says the owner and workers at the mine were the targets of violence, assault, and property damage. During the strike, Governor Wallace called on state troopers to rescue the non-union plaintiffs, but the suit contends the union mob hurled firebrands and dynamite and fired on rescue workers. They say a damage suit will follow. And we'll be back with the weather forecast in a moment.
Everyone knows Volvos last a long time, but this Volvo of mine defies belief. It has 774,000 miles on it. At this rate, I'm never going to get to buy a new one.
According to an independent nationwide survey, new Volvo owners are happier than the owners of 48 new models from GM, Ford, Chrysler, and AMC. But it's always nice to see old Volvo owners who are happy, too.
At Jack Ingram, we are driven to give you the best.
Well, today's weather forecast calls for fair with gradual warming today through Wednesday. We can expect a high this afternoon in the low 40s. Low tonight should be in the low 20s, and a high tomorrow will be in the low 50s. Winds are northeasterly at 4 to 12 miles per hour. And this hour's temperature at Danley Field is 21 degrees. That's today in Alabama. I'll be back in about an hour with a news update. Have a nice day.
Patrolman Robert Colby does a lot of driving in his line of work. Here's what he said after test driving a Volvo.
The turning radius, I was flabbergasted. The brakes, I've never seen anything like it. Again, I don't think I've ever driven anything that is quite as responsive and handles and lets you know what it's doing on the road and offers no surprise to you as I think you have your product here.
7 out of 8 Volvo owners buy a Volvo after a test drive. Maybe you should test drive a Volvo and see what you've been missing.
Today in Alabama has been brought to you by Jack Ingram Motors.
If you or someone you love is age 50 to 80, I urge you to get paper and pencil ready to respond to this announcement. Now, even though you are age 50 to 80, you can buy life insurance with no physical examination and no medical questions. You cannot be turned down or charged higher rates because Colonial Penn Life Insurance Company guarantees your premium to be just $9.95 a month, and your premium will never increase. This is the life insurance policy that guarantees your acceptance regardless of your health. So if you are between 50 and 80 and thought it would be difficult to buy life insurance, shouldn't you call right now for free information in the mail? This offer ends soon, so Call now.
For free information in the mail, call 800-325-6406. This is a free call, 800-325-6406.
WSFA, TV 12, Montgomery.
Good morning, all. It's half past the hour now. This is the Today program. Gene Shalit and Jane Pauley. I'm Tom Brokaw. We're all in place. Coming up during this half hour of the Today program, the second part of my interview with Lauren Bacall. She's written a book called By Myself. And during this interview, we'll be talking about Lauren Bacall's attitudes toward modern men and also toward the acting profession. Specifically, what happens to actresses when they get beyond the age of 25, and should they have plastic surgery? She has some very outspoken views on all of this, and I think you'll look forward to seeing it. Certainly I did.
After 25 years old?
After 25. She comes up with some pretty tough talk about attitudes toward people who are over 25.
And what happens when you write a letter of complaint to the government? Well, too often, nothing. That's what's known, Betty Furness says, as murder by bureaucracy, and she has more to say about that in this half hour.
Is it a bird? Is it a plane? No, it's a negative ion. And you think a negative ion goes around saying, no, you mustn't do that? No. Actually, a negative ion is very positive. It's affirmative. It makes you feel terrific. And Alana Davis, who makes all of us feel terrific, is going to tell you all about positive, negative ions.
We're going to preempt Floyd Kelber's duties here for just a moment. We've got word from the White House in the last couple of days that guess who's going to guide Deng Xiaoping around this country when he arrives? Robert Strauss.